it's so many precautions that I had to learn and take, but I had to go deep and study this myself. And it's to the point where I know more than some of the doctors, which was sad. And also where I had a doctor tell me that she should hire me because I know my stuff. I studied it. I went into it really, really heavy. And nothing has ever showed anything. She's had different tests and all this. And one doctor said he saw something, but her pediatrician said, nah, I don't think you do. And then, thanks. And then the spot that one saw when we went to the main big teaching hospital, there was no spot anymore. And we spent 7 nights in the bed in Vanderbilt. And she was chained to the bed, like literally leashed to the bed. And it was just a small children's hospital room. She couldn't leave. She could only go to the bathroom and back. And it was like, I got cabin fever after like an hour and 30 minutes. I'm not used to being made to just sit still in a strange place. It was torture. And I know that if it was torture for me, it had to be freaking exhausting on her. And you would think that with that amount of pressure and that amount of stress that it would set her off. And they took her off her medication. So it was like one of those things when they do these overnight EEGs, they make them exhausted. So they keep them up and then they don't give them any medication, which is 2 of the main causes that could set them into a seizure. So I prepared for the worst to happen. Although I kind of felt like it wasn't going to happen, we kind of knew that it wasn't going to happen. And it's crazy. My youngest one, I think, can sense some as well now. I asked the necessary precautionary questions. There's been times when I felt like she would get sick, and so I would let her stay home with me, and then she did get sick. Or the very last one, when she was 7, she went to go home with my mom. And I was like, Mom, when you lay down, are you going to hear her? Like, if you lay down and you sleep, can you hear my baby? She was like, yeah, I'm not going to sleep that hard. I'm good. And so I took the little one, which was the little bitty baby, maybe 2 or 3 months. Because it was between Easter and Mother's Day. So I know she was little. So I brought her home. Cam was sick. Micaiah had a softball game. So he had took her to the softball game. And I stopped before I went to church to get Cam some medicine because she had a slight fever. It wasn't even high. And I think at that time she was still on medication. She was still on medication because they changed the medication. So when their age changes, their medicine changes. When their weight changes, their medicine changes. The brand changes. The type changes. Then they add some, and then they subtract some. Then you got to back up, and then you got to do this. Then they have to have blood work because a lot of the epilepsy medication does harm to the liver, so they have to get blood drawn, they have to check the liver, and they have to do urine. Like it's a lot that goes into having a child with epilepsy that I had no idea. I had to make sure that the people that watched her, that kept her, that I trusted with them, knew she get this medication if this happened. If she stopped looking at you and she don't respond to you and it's been 1 or 2 minutes and you should do this and then you should call us, and then I'm like, it was always, in the back of my head. But, I got a little comfortable within those years that she didn't have one. So from 7, or was it 6 to 13, they were gone and there was no medication. And she was doing really well on that, or so we thought. At one point I thought maybe she was having the staring. They call them staring when they're zoned out and just staring into space. And so nothing ever showed up. There's no reason why she falls in that category. I think it's 70% or 1 in 7. There's not a known cause for it, which is where she fell. Wouldn't you know? There's no family history. We did do some genetic testing, but his side nor my side didn't. She was the first. Like nobody, this was the first. Like it was all crazy. And her doctor and I had a great relationship. And so at one point she was like pre-K with a heart monitor on. He wanted to check and make sure that nothing was going on with that. She's been on a heart monitor a couple of times since that, because they say that sometimes that things can happen that you don't think. And I think at one point he had got something that he's seen on ER, and he was like, well, let's just try this. And I was okay with that. And so we got him under control. But I still feel like, I even researched, was I stressing her out? Because the game that I wasn't at, she didn't have one. Did he stress out? And they was like, well, yes and no. Because if it was that, then just when she had a test and you put a lot of pressure on her, she would have it. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I know the weight of a parent is heavy. I realized that. But that wasn't it. And so we was thinking, was it the lights, or was it the sound, like the whistles or the squeaking of the basketball shoes on the court? Like what could set her off the timer? You know, what was it? And so even afterwards, taking her to basketball games is, to me, a risk. My youngest one played basketball, and even though I'm watching Cam too, because it's like, you know, there's always the fear that it could happen at any time. And even with like going to concerts, they're flashing lights, it's excited. And, you know, I did take her to a concert in between there when they had stopped. I didn't know. And she's been to a couple of concerts since, and she's been fine. I did have to find a combination of medicine that I felt comfortable with her being on, because there's so many side effects and precautions with the epilepsy medicine and their memory. And it's just so much to have to freaking figure out. And I tell my kids all the time, I know I'm not the greatest mom. They didn't come with instructions, and it definitely don't come with instructions when you have a kid with the illness in this way. But all I knew was to can you just cut that out for me? All I knew was to learn all that I could learn, because lack of knowledge, I could have messed up and given her something that the doctor recommended, but I didn't know, and I just said okay, because I would do my own research before I decided to give her the medicine that was prescribed by the doctor, because I knew her. Like, you know her, but I know her. She lived in me. We, you know, in sync. And so that's how I knew when seizures were going to come about, because we were in sync. And I don't know why it feels so heavy today, but I always give people that know a little bit, because I felt like this was a dirty secret. Like, I didn't want people to know that she was having them. Like, if you weren't in our immediate family, you didn't even know unless you witnessed it, because I didn't really want to talk about it. It was just like a dirty secret, and my secret got out. But the few people that knew about it, they would, when somebody else's kid was going through it, they would, you know, tag me, and I would try to give a little advice, and I would say, you know, my experience, which turned out to be like on a doctor's level almost, because I did so much research. Like, I can't tell you what the brain looked like, because I don't know it, but I can tell you about epilepsy in a way that is frightening if you think about it, because all the information that I've had to try to keep up here over the last 16 years, just on that alone. But throw in the fact that I have endometriosis, adenomyosis, fibroids, cysts. I'll be lucky to remember my own fucking name some days, you know. But that's another thing. That's the video I'm gonna make tomorrow about my experience with endometriosis, because that has been one hell of a ride too. So the three that I have, They don't know how I had them. My tubes were blocked too, so they don't even know. That's why I call them miracles. That's why I don't play about them, because had I listened to man when man told me I couldn't, God gave me triple for my troubles. He didn't say it would be this hard, but I'm gonna have it any other way, because they're amazing. They're miracles. Especially that last one, baby. She tried to take me out. It was her mission. And she lives by it. She lives by it. And she tried to end me, take me on out.
I didn't know I was.
Yeah, you know.
No, I didn't. I was a baby. I didn't know anything.
You knew what your assignment was when you said you was gonna swing back around. But I didn't want to walk into healing, especially talking about exposing myself, being vulnerable myself, saying what I had, because not only was epilepsy my dirty little secret, so was endometriosis. Although you can't really hide it. It's like a baby. You can't really hide it. Or you can only hide it for so long. You know, they say so-and-so is pregnant, well, time will tell, you know, and she does tell. Fish dreams do tell too, but this was a dirty little secret I didn't want anybody to know. But in doing so, I have experienced everything and educated myself on it, and probably educated a few other people on it, because I have done so much research about it. And I've been an advocate for Save My Uterus. Only because, and not just because I didn't want a hysterectomy, because I don't, but also because I didn't know. So with Cam's epilepsy, it's not ideal for them to have, they would recommend they not get pregnant, because of all of the things that the body has to go through. It could set off multiple seizures, and if you want to know how bad they can get, Google it and watch them, or read the story. They can go on for hours and days, and I have read things and been in groups where people's kids have had them for hours and days. When I was working, it was an older lady. Her and I kind of bonded over kids with epilepsy, because you know, the job knew that, hey, if I get this call, I'm out of here. You can do what you want to do with your work, but when I get a call, I'm gonna bounce. Or if I call and say my kid is sick, prepare the others. But I didn't even get FMLA when Cam was sick. I was too honorary, you know, had too much pride. I was just like, I'm gonna make up my time. I don't care what I miss, I'm gonna make it up. So Cam was having seizures. My brother died and my dad died in 2009. And I think that's when I had ran out of PTO time, and I had to get my little bereavement days, and Cam had a seizure right before my brother's funeral. I was like, how'd she know? Because I thought I didn't tell her, and I figured if we didn't tell her that her uncle wasn't around, she wouldn't. And what do you know? Before the funeral, I hadn't even told you. Like, it was like we were talking and we were discussing and making arrangements, but I didn't, you know, holler at her like that. I didn't tell her. But I did send her to daycare. I was like, sis, I paid for daycare. You gonna go to daycare, and I'm gonna come over here and help with this over here. And it was around Thanksgiving too, baby. We in the ER. I think it was the Friday afterwards, because my brother's funeral was. And so my aunts came over. They were Black Friday shopping. Came over to the ER. Cam had to have a spinal in the ER, and my brother's heart doctor was there that day. I can't remember if she did or not, but Cam's pediatrician was closed, so he ended up coming over. He was exhausted. Like, I was there so much. I was like, can I have a parking spot? And I can just, you know, that's mine over there. I'm here all the time. But we got over it, and we got better. And I forgot some of the knowledge, but some of it'll never leave. Some of the seizures, the dates, the times, the blood pressure, the blood sugar, like those numbers and things like that, I could rattle them off if I was in the right headspace. But don't play with them babies, because they miracles. Like, they real life dope miracles, and I birth miracles. But I didn't want to get a hysterectomy because I didn't know if I was going to have to carry her kids. Crazy as it sounds, I'll be too old to really be pregnant again. But I, you know, and not to mention that the last one tried to kill me, but I thought I wanted that to be an option. She had sisters, but I wanted that to be an option if I needed to, you know, because they did on Lifetime. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's been some stories where the mama done carried the child, the grandchild for the child. And child, I'll be old. Like, somebody said today, when they go to their kids' graduation, she gonna be old, baby. The little baby will have me in the wheelchair. But, you know, anything for your kid. But now I want it for me, but not, you know, the kid part, she can have that on her own. She have my own kids, I'm gonna keep my own uterus, and we're gonna do it like that. But I have been studying alternatives and things for epilepsy, and I even tried to figure out, because I knew like 2 other people who had kids on the same day that I had her. But I had her at a different hospital. So I was like, well, maybe it was something we was taking in the vitamins, or maybe it was that glucose drink we drank. Like, maybe it was something that if I had a setback on it and studied it, I wouldn't have had those tests and done those things with the last one. But I didn't think of that. And that was another thing, getting pregnant again. I'm like, well, what are the chances of a sibling having epilepsy? Because, baby, that's, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's doing the most over here and over there. That is doing the most. But she's fine. She doesn't have epilepsy at all. The oldest one doesn't have it. It was just that little black unicorn baby. That's what I call her. Because they don't know why she's having it. They don't know how. Nothing's ever shown up for real. So if it wasn't for a video, catching it on video, because that's what I did do for myself. Ooh, where is the video? Wow. I used to have to show it to the doctors, and I would look away because I was like, I am not reliving that shit again. But yeah, I videotaped it. So I feel like if it wasn't for the video, they probably be like, she lying. She be bringing this child in here saying the child sick so she can get some. I felt like they was gonna think I was doing that for real, like making her sick so that I could come in there. But I hated going in there. Child, I sure hated it. All the different doctors appointments, neurologists, you gotta go like in order. You gotta go ER, pediatrician, neurologist, and then sometimes back to the pediatrician so that they can coordinate stuff. And then you got to get the EEG, and then you got to go back for them to tell you what the EEG said, because they could have called you. But this was before you could pull the test up on my chart, which I do pull that up. But I have a say in what she takes and what she doesn't take, and I stick to my guns about vaccines and different things like that. And I'm like, no. And then they stop talking to me, and they talk, and I'm like, I said no. And then they'll be like, well, she is old enough. No. I said no. But, and that's probably why they look at me like they do when I go in there. Because you can't just tell me anything. As smart, as intelligent, as can read. So, I have read a lot. I wanted to see Dr. Carson, after he wrote the movie and the book, everybody was like, you should go see him. And I was like, I'm going to go see him. And then she was like, I don't think we are. And then she stopped having them. So she was like, you're doing too much. But what was I supposed to do? You know, it was just the cards that God dealt me. I had to play them. And you know, down here we serious about spades. And I got a real good poker face. All I can tell you, I don't play poker, but